Today we'll be looking at GST111 and I'll be talking on the word classes. The word. Okay. You should be as relaxed as I am because it's going to be a pleasurable ride. So when we say the word classes, we are simply saying the parts of speech. So the word class, or the term the word class, is simply another extra family gene or root. Now, the function of a noun, if that word performs the functions, abstract ideas, or even concepts. Yes. So saying. So also, if an English word performs the function of replacing a noun in a sentence, such a word will inevitably be a pronoun, activity, action, or a state of being. So the parts of speech are simply families of words that are categorized into families, which we call. We've already explained what a sentence is. I did that in my previous live session where I talked about sentences, their definition, their types, their components, and the patterns, the sentence patterns we have. So if you were not in that particular teaching class or session, do well to watch the video. It is still on the YouTube channel. It's not going anywhere. It's there and it's for your consumption. So today we're going to be looking at the parts of speech, also called the word classes. But before we talk about the word classes, you could be asked, or four main functions equally of structure. In English, a sentence has three types, which are simple sentence, complex sentence, and the compound sentence. All right, but now when we talk about functionality, the functions of a sentence, we are going to have four types of sentences on the basis of functionality. This is not a matter of structure. No, this is functionality. So on the basis of functionality, we will have four types of sentences. And these four types of sentences include, number one, we have what is called the declarative sentence. Okay, so it means that there are sentences that function as a declaration. You see that? So declarative sentences, declarative. All right. Now, when is a sentence said to be declarative, or when does a sentence function as a declarative sentence? Okay, those of you who just joined the live, you are welcome. I can see you and I acknowledge your presence. All right, so I'm talking on word classes, the parts of speech, but I'm doing a quick stop at the functions of sentences before we come to the class for today. So I believe you have your writing materials and you are following appropriately as you ought to. All right, so I said number one, the function of a sentence is for declarations. Yes, so we have a type of sentence called a declarative sentence. A declarative sentence is simply a sentence that is a statement of fact, a sentence that we use to communicate a statement of fact. Or I make a statement like everything to communicate a fact, all right, or to express trueness. Such a statement or sentence is said to be declarative. Yes, such a sentence is said to be declarative. Now, the second type of sentence based on functionality that we have is what we call the imperative sentence. So sentences can carry out imperative function. All right. Now, what do we mean by imperative? A sentence is said to be imperative when that sentence is used to make a request or to give a command. So in the use of the English language, if I make a request or I give a command, the kind of sentence I employ is what we call an imperative sentence. So an example being, could you get me a glass of milk? That's imperative. You see that now? Excellent. Could you get me a cup of water? Please shut the door. That's imperative. So a declarative sentence usually ends with full stop, while an imperative sentence usually ends with a question mark. Please take note of that. A declarative sentence usually ends with a full stop, while the third type of sentence, you should be familiar with the term interrogative. So it simply means to ask, that is to say, you are asking questions. Such a sentence is considered interrogative. So an example is, who are you? Why are you connected to this life? See that now? Sentences. All right. Now I've talked about 3, and remember I told you that we have 4. So the last type of sentence that we have is called the exclamatory sentence. Exclamatory sentence. Now, an exclamatory sentence simply serves the role of expressing emotions. A declarative sentence states fact. An imperative sentence helps us make commands and requests. What we call interrogative sentence helps us ask questions, while an exclamatory sentence helps us express emotions. You see that? Excellent. So an exclamatory sentence we usually end either with an exclamation mark or with a full stop. Please take note of that. A declarative sentence ends with a full stop. That's how you know a declarative sentence. Other than by its definition, a request, it will usually end with a questionative. An interrogative usually, on the other hand, we simply take an exclamation mark, and in some cases it could take a full stop. Are we learning? Excellent. So that's that for the 4 types of sentences based on their functionality. All right, so declarative, imperative, interrogative, exclamatory. You can easily remember this with the memory box DIE, as in the word die. Yes, but this time around it's a double I, so DIIE. So D stands for declarative sentence, the first I stands for imperative, the second I stands for interrogative, and the letter E stands for exclamatory. I believe we're learning. Excellent. Now let's get down to today's work. So we have what is called the word classes. All right, so the word classes by definition are simply the parts of speech. Okay, so the parts of speech in English are categorized in 2. All right, just 2. 1, we have what is called the open class, and 2, we have the closed class. A part of speech is said to be open when we cannot exhaust all its members. So if we cannot successfully make an exhaustive inventory of all the words belonging to a particular syntactic category, e.g. a noun, you see that, then such a part of speech is said to be open. But if that part of speech we can exhaust all the words, all the members, such a part of speech is regarded as closed. Let's take nouns, for example. you find that a noun, they happen to be too numerous or they happen to be plentiful. All right, so we cannot really exhaust all the nouns that exist in the English language. So this makes the noun a typical example of what we call an open class category or an open class part of speech, because we cannot exhaust its members. That's a noun. Now, there are four parts of speech whose members we cannot exhaust. All right. The first part of speech whose members we cannot exhaust is the noun. The second is the verb. The third is the adjective. And the fourth is the adverb. All right. So noun, adjective, verb, adverb. We cannot exhaust their members. They are too numerous and they are inexhaustible. So this makes them open. Open means their membership is without end. Yes. And even to date, new nouns can be formed. Yes, till date, new words are still being coined. So we cannot exhaust the members of these categories that I mentioned: nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. They are the open class items, also called the open class parts of speech. Now, if I can exhaust the members of a part of speech, e.g., the conjunctions, yes, such a part of speech is considered closed. Such a part of speech is considered closed. So we have parts of speech like conjunctions, interjections, pronouns, articles, modal auxiliary verbs, the primary auxiliary verbs. All right, they are exhaustible, so this makes them closed. Okay, so they are closed. Excellent. Now let's discuss the open class category, starting with nouns. All right, so a noun by definition is a naming word. Yes, that's a functional definition. That is to say, that definition is a product of its function. It's a naming word. All right, so to be more specific, a noun is that word that names a person. It can name a person, it can name an animal, it can name a place, it can name a thing, it can name an idea or a concept. That's a noun. All right, so think of any name: the name of a person, Samuel, Joshua, Peter, Martha, James. That's a noun. The name of an animal, a lion, a dog, a cat. That's a noun. The name of a place, Tokyo, New York, Japan, China, North Korea. That's a noun. The name of a city, the name of a state, the name of a river, the name of a mountain, the name of just name it. Yes, so anything that has a name, the name we give to it is a noun. Very good. Okay, now what are the basic types of nouns in the English language? Number one, we have what we call the proper noun. The proper noun is said to be proper because it can help us make specific reference to persons, to places, to magazines, mountains, newspapers, and so on. Okay, so a proper noun is, simply put, a specific noun. So when I call the specific name of a place, of a person, of a mountain, of a state, a capital city, and so on, that specific name is a proper noun. Very good. Now, we have another type of noun called the common noun, which makes general reference. The common noun is not specific, rather it is generic in its reference. So as a generic noun, where a proper noun will mention a specific name like Samuel, a common noun will mention a generic name like boy. Where a proper noun will mention a specific name like let's say United Kingdom, the UK, a common noun will mention a generic name like country. You see that? So proper nouns are specific while common nouns are generic. Okay, now we have a third type of noun which we call the countable noun. Countable noun. A noun is said to be countable if we can measure it. It is quantifiable. Now, standardly speaking, a noun is said to be countable if that noun, number one, can have a plural form. That is, it can attract the plural morpheme s, es, or ies. So a noun is said to be countable if it can take plural forms. All right. Number two, a noun is said to be countable when such a noun can take both definite and indefinite articles. So any noun that can attract the definite article D and equally attract one of the indefinite articles a or an, such a noun is countable. I met a boy on my way to the museum. A boy. Now the noun boy is taking the indefinite article a. That's a sentence. Now I could say also, the boy I met on my way to the museum, his name is Hussein. The boy. Now it is attracting the definite article D. Do you see that? Good. So both the indefinite and the definite article were compatible with the noun boy. It therefore goes to suggest that the noun boy is a countable noun. Okay, so you can think of other examples of countable nouns. Now, a noun is said to be uncountable. That's the fourth type of noun. A noun is said to be uncountable if that noun only attracts the definite article. So it only attracts D, the. It does not attract a or an. And lastly, such a noun does not take the plural morphemes s, es, or ies. I believe that's clear. Okay, so let's take a noun like let's try something like blood. Okay, so imagine I make a statement like I have a blood. The expression a blood is grammatically unacceptable. Yes, because as an uncountable noun, blood is not supposed to take the indefinite article a. Okay, but I can make a statement like the blood of my father runs through my veins. The blood of my father runs through my veins. The blood. So you find that the definite article D is compatible with the uncountable noun blood. Good. Remember, I said by definition, an uncountable noun cannot attract the plural morpheme s, es, or ies. Meaning, I cannot have a sentence like, I have lost many bloods. That's wrong. You see that now? Good. So that's the difference between the countable noun and the uncountable noun. These are the basic types of nouns that exist. Okay, excellent. Now we have other types of nouns, however, but like I said, the 4 types I mentioned, being proper, common, countable, and uncountable, are the basic types. The other types of nouns we have include the concrete noun, which is a group of nouns that we can see, touch, and feel. So a noun is said to be concrete if you can see it, you can touch it, and you can feel it. Any noun you can relate with sensually, that is using your senses, the sense of sight, the sense of touch or feel. Okay, good. Such a noun is concrete, e.g., the chair, the phone in your hand, all right, the dress you're wearing, the table at home, the pots, the plates, all right, the spoons, the car outside, all right, or in the garage, and then even yourself, you are concrete. So the opposite of a concrete noun is called abstract noun. So an abstract noun is any noun that we cannot see necessarily. You can't see an abstract noun, but we can feel it. So an example of an abstract noun is the noun happiness. You can't see it necessarily. There's no physical or tangible or expression of happiness. It's a feeling. We can feel it. That's abstract. Education, abstract. Ignorance, abstract. You see that? Excellent. Now, we have another kind of noun under the secondary types of nouns. We have another type of noun called the compound noun. So, when is a noun said to be compound? Simply put, a noun is said to be compound when that noun can be divided into 2 or more component parts, where each part is actually an existent word in the English language. For example, if I have the word son-in-law and I split the word into its component parts, I will have son, in, and law. Now, each of these parts are actually existent. They are recognized in the English language. They exist as words. So individually they exist, but coming together, they form another type of noun, which we now call the compound noun. So the compound noun, simply put, is that type of noun that is formed when 2 or more nouns or even words from other parts of speech come together. Okay, it's just like in chemistry where 2 smaller molecules, which we call monomers, combine to form a bigger molecule, which we call polymers. So also in the use of the English language, when 2 or more words, 2 or more nouns, 2 or more words from other parts of speech combine, they form what we call a compound noun. So like in the example I mentioned, son-in-law, son is a noun, in is a preposition, law is a noun. Do you see that? So we have 2 nouns and a preposition coming together to create a compound noun. That's so lovely and exciting. All right. Now, a compound noun is of different types on the basis of how the words that make it up are joined. Number 1, if a compound noun is joined by means of a dash, that is, we use a punctuation mark called a dash or called an hyphen. All right. Such a compound noun is regarded as hyphenated. So if the component words of a compound noun are separated by a dash, it is said to be hyphenated. If the component words of a compound noun are separated by a small space, it is said to be open. If the component words of a compound noun are not separated at all, it is said to be a closed compound noun. Okay, please take note of that. Separated by a dash, it is called hyphenated. Separated by a small space, it is called open. Separated by not separated at all, it is called closed. A typical example of a compound noun not separated at all is the compound noun bed reading. To be bed reading. All right, so they are joined. Another example is in the word policeman. You see that they are joined. Okay, so that's the different types of compound nouns. Lastly, we have a type of noun called the collective noun. A noun is said to be collective when it is a general name for a group of things. So a collective noun is simply the noun for a group of nouns. I'll say that again. A collective noun is simply the noun for a group of nouns. In Latin, the word noun means name. So what I'm saying is a collective noun is simply the name for a group of nouns. You there? Excellent. Now, let's take a noun like furniture. Chairs, tables, okay. Literally your basic house accessories, chairs, tables, dining tables, cushions, and so on. When I have a collection of furniture, for example, I will give them a name. That is, I will assign a noun to them. That name or noun that I assign to a group of furniture is called a suite. S-U-I-T-E, a suite. So that name called suite is what we call a collective noun. Okay, so nouns are numerous. For example, a group of lions is called a pride. A group of people is called a crowd. A group of listeners or watchers is called an audience. A group of persons watching a football match, they are called spectators. A collection of writing materials is known as stationery. A group of cars is called fleet. A group of flags is called bunting. B-U-N-T-I-N-G. A group of notes, that is currency notes, is called a wad. W-A-D. A group of books in the like in a library at home or anywhere is called a library. A collection of books anywhere is called a library. Okay, a group of maps is called an atlas. A group of baboons, an animal, is called a flange. A group of monkeys is called a troop. A group of soldiers is termed an army. All right, not a barrack, because the expression barracks is the place where soldiers stay. It is where they are domiciled. Excellent. So the name we give to nouns when they are many or in a group is what we call, or is what we term, collective. So these are the basic types of nouns that exist. Okay, so I'm going to give an assignment at this point. I'm going to ask that you make a list, okay, a list of 10 each of the types of nouns that I mentioned, from proper, which are specific nouns, to common, which are generic nouns, to countable, which are nouns that can be counted. They can have plural forms, and they can take both the definite and indefinite article. Okay, make examples also of the uncountable noun. Make examples also of the concrete, the abstract, the collective, and the compound nouns. All right. So I believe with this, we clearly understand the concept of word classes and nouns, including the types. All right. Do not also forget about the types of sentences based on their functionality. Remember, we mentioned that a sentence, on the basis of its function, all right, we can have four types of sentences. Number one is the declarative sentence, which I told you is used to make statements of fact, factual statements. All right, I made mention of the punctuation mark that follows a declarative sentence, which is the full stop. Number two, I told you of the imperative sentence, which is used for making requests and giving commands. And I told you that sentence usually takes a question mark, okay, or ends also in a full stop. I made mention of the interrogative sentence, which is used for asking questions. And I told you that sentence usually ends with a question mark because you are asking questions. So a question mark must follow after an interrogative sentence. Who are you? Where are you from? Why are you here? What are you doing? Who is with you? When are you leaving? And so on. A question mark must follow at the end of an interrogative sentence. Then the last type of sentence on the basis of functionality is the exclamatory sentence, which I categorically stated is used to express emotions. And such a sentence will sometimes end in an exclamation mark, or it could end in a full stop. All right. So do not forget also, the parts of speech are a family of words that are categorized on the basis of their functions. And I told you categorically too that based on how exhaustible the members of any group of words are, we have two types of word classes, or two types of parts of speech: the open class and the closed class. And I told you that the open class consists of those parts of speech or those word classes whose members we cannot exhaust. And I made mention of four parts of speech under this category: the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, and the adverbs. These are the open class items in the English language. Now, for parts of speech whose membership can be exhausted, or whose members we can practically make a complete inventory of, such parts of speech or such word classes are considered as closed. And I made mention at this juncture, when I was talking about the parts of speech, I made mention of groups like conjunctions, interjections, articles, determiners, possessives. We have pronouns, we have primary auxiliary verbs, and the modal auxiliary verbs. All right. So with this, we call it a day on today's live session, where we have discussed the functions of sentences, the parts of speech, the open and closed class items, and we have equally talked about nouns. Tomorrow I'll be going live again, and I'll be doing a teaching on pronouns and the types of pronouns. This is Covenant Science Tutorial, and I'm Mr. Techno, the GST instructor. All right. I've been teaching the English language for over a decade now. Yes, so that's over a decade's experience in my pocket, by the grace of God. So I'll see you next time. Ensure you subscribe to the channel, and you can follow our channel on WhatsApp so you get updates on when the next live sessions will come up. If you are subscribed also to the YouTube channel, you can always get notified as soon as we go live. But if you would love to obtain a prior notice for our live sessions, you can please leave your email address in the comment section, and whenever we go live, we'll be sure to notify you. All right, you can send us an email. The email address info.covenantsciencetutorials@gmail.com. Thank you very much for joining. From this end, it's goodbye. See you next time.